So, I'm snacking a little bit. I still have some cherry limeade. Oh, it's good stuff. I still have some cherry limeade. Let's go on and make some NPCs. Right? Every NPC we create, we don't need to make every single one that exists in the world. But let's make a couple that are notable figures. You know, who'd be a major NPC to the group? Or to many people in the group? Hi, Mr. Plunderloot. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. Or St. Maddie's Day, right? And Grimvex, welcome.
Price declared.
Uh-oh. Plunderloot knows praise the cloud. Plunderloot, you are 1 month away from earning your red spicy salsa badge. Congratulations on that. All right, in our Dungeon Master's Guide, on page 89, we are going to begin the NPC creation process, and that'll end up using some random roll prompts. I also want to take a look here. Elias has an NPC prompt of some kind of a notable thief mentor and a magic teacher, right? As a wizard, as a divination wizard. Carolandra was taken in by a dwarven foster family as an adult, but you get the idea in the wake of her tragedy. Pardon me. And she had some sort of a major religious influencer in her life. Ibayek could have a rival salesman or scribe, a friend in the guild, a monk teacher, a ranger huntmaster, or some sort of a portmaster with whom he's very familiar. Melry, there could be servants from her old family who escaped the attack. Possibly someone upset at her for breaking his or her heart or otherwise pulling a scam. And Dekhe could have a librarian or a book publisher. The figure that broke his health in exchange for power and information, the great old one, or someone maybe who lives on that island, or some kind of a sage colleague. So we're finding some overlap in the prompts that we set aside last night. We're seeing some overlay here with Carolandra. Elias has certainly been to a library because he's the product of a great library and or religious institution. And so honestly, we could have even put that up here for an NPC prompt. So I think we should have some kind of a scribe or a sage mentor or an NPC that at least 3 of the characters are going to know more intimately. And the other 2 might know by proxy because all of our characters are very smart when it comes to history and religion. All right, so we have a word or two that's going to give us a direction. Now, if you are stuck as a DM and you're not sure, how do I create NPCs? Where do they exist? What happens? Again, let's reference what we already have. We have a rough map of the area. We have a rough idea of the characters. You know, we have a summary and all this. I think we can count on some random rolls and our own instincts to flesh out this character. And the Dungeon Master's Guide is extremely helpful. So we've taken this and broken it down into kind of a walkthrough, okay? We have his occupation and maybe not history per se, but in one sentence describe the NPC's occupation and provide a brief historical note that hints at the character's past. For example, the NPC might have served in an army, been imprisoned for a crime, or adventured years ago. So a sage or scribe, we can say, is a notable librarian in the Great Library. The Great Library of where or what, it doesn't matter. Apparently there's a great library, and we can come to those details later. While we're thinking, let's get our ideas out. Notable librarian in the Great Library, and has spent much of his or her life researching in the desert before retiring to the building. Name, we'll come up with a name. NPC appearance. Let's roll a 20-sided die and find out what is a notable feature of this NPC. We rolled a 9. Unusual eye color or 2 different colors. We have a prompt, and we can come back and explore. Is this just heterochromia, where you're born with 2 different colored eyes? Did something happen in the field that caused our field researcher to retire back to the library, and that replaced one of his or her eyes, or changed the color? You know, does this character suddenly now have like a Sharingan eye? Or was, or maybe the character is blind in one eye. You know, that could be an unusual eye color. Maybe it's milked over. What if it looks like it's a blind eye because it's milked over, but can actually see into the ethereal plane because something happened in the ruins out in the field? Now we're kind of blending the two. So the character might wear an eye patch, might not. Who knows? Retro Evan, hello. You like the Melry personally, Plunderloop? Just a thought, but what about a traveling mystic or sage or a merchant that deals with books and the mundane? Maybe. So maybe was a notable librarian in the Great Library and returns there, but maybe acts as a mobile library, taking a wagon full of books between the cities to make sure that knowledge continues to flow throughout the Lomosh Peninsula. That's not a bad idea, Plunderloop. No spoons some days, says Tressaflump. You were born with heterochromia. I wish I had a cool story behind what happened. And Tressaflump asks, Retro Evan, me? Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. One eye is a devil's eye and he keeps it covered? Yeah, it could be... Look, we're just given a prompt by the DMG. It doesn't mean we can't give it, a devil eye, a blind eye, a lost eye, or just natural, rare but natural heterochromia. But here's our prompt. All right, the abilities. I'm going to roll 2d6. The first number is going to be the high ability, and the second d6 is the low. 6 and 5. High charisma, low wisdom. Now, it doesn't mean that this character is not unintelligent, but charisma is going to be a big defining feature in the summary. This is almost like, maybe like Marcus from Indiana Jones, if you know who I'm talking about. Not yet, TJ. That sort of stuff, for an NPC, I want to save for last, because I want to know who the character is regardless of the race. We can apply the race, the gender, all that other stuff, hair color. We can apply that after the fact, but I want to know the core of this person first. Now, a talent this person has. Let's roll a d20. 18. Ooh. A skilled actor and master of disguise. So then the question is, do the players know this? And you know what this could also build? This NPC might have a link to Melry, Plunder Loot, because what if Melry was taught her charlatan skills by this NPC? Yeah, it could have been a spy. That's why he's so involved in knowledge. Or otherwise, you know, maybe he has all these personas so that as he's going through the desert, he can blend in with various tribes, or he can, you know, he can maneuver through. Again, like Marcus Broly, you know, he, you know, on the phone, you know, or Indy's talking to someone who's like, he speaks 10 languages. He can blend in wherever he goes. NPC mannerisms. Let's roll a d20. 1. Prone to singing, whistling, or humming quietly. You know, with all the knowledge in his brain, he probably knows a lot of different songs. Or have any of you played Dead Space? Or more specifically, Dead Space 2? If so, then maybe you can get an interesting direction. You know, step 1, the screws go all around. Step 2, or no, step 1 you lay down. Step 2, the screws go all around. You're mumbling and murmuring about something. What if that eye might have taken in some data? You know, we're talking about obelisks and such, right? What if that eye contains images and languages? What if the eye is almost like a storage device? Yeah, TJ, yeah, you're welcome to do so. And this information occasionally bleeds out. You know, what if this NPC is like Johnny Mnemonic? Wouldn't that be interesting too? But yes, Plunder Loot. Maybe this character, you know, crosses his heart, or hers, crosses his heart and hopes to die, and blah blah blah, whatever. The follow-up lyrics aren't relevant. What if the eye is the Eye of Vecna? Ooh. You know, NPCs can be bad but not villains. You know, we have a more mysterious NPC. That could very well be. Interactions with others. How does the NPC interact with others? You know, and we're summing this up verbally in a sentence, but as a writing exercise, it's good to write it out. For an example, an innkeeper might be friendly towards guests and rude to her staff. Let's roll a d12. How does this NPC interact with others? 10. Ponderous. Well, you want to talk about someone who considers a lot of things at all points in time. You want to consider someone who, someone who is thoughtful, or who wants to try and take time to make sure that, do they believe my disguise, or am I saying the correct thing? Oh, there you go. So, TJ Fate is now DJ Fate, as you can get a musical accompaniment with the NPC creation. His or her ideal? I'm gonna roll 2d6. The first 6 is going to determine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the second 6 is going to determine which of the 6 options in there is the ideal, the character. 6 and 6. Self-knowledge. This is definitely an NPC created for our player characters. And I don't know, we all can have superstitions about dice. This has been absolutely uncanny with our random dice rolls, how all of this is fitting together. Absolutely uncanny. I thought it was appropriate for the character, especially if they have lost an eye at some point. They may very well have, TJ. DJ Fate. That actually sounds kind of cool. You're going to spit at the club later? Drop the bass? What is our NPC's bond? Let's roll a d10. 2. Move this over just a little bit here. The bond is protective of close family members. Does that mean biological family? Blood family? Or does that mean that this character sees the PCs as family? Or does this character see the region as an extended family? With Mr. Plunderloot saying something like, well, what if it's like an Eye of Vecna? To that end, what if this researcher NPC was out in the desert, uncovered something, and it turned out to be something like the Soul Stone of Diablo? To having confidence that he or she could contain this thing, this NPC took it upon him or herself to use the eye so no one else could have it, and to try and contain it and prevent others. What if this person was being chased by raiders through the dunes of the desert? You don't want this to fall in the hands of murderous cutthroats. And of course, you believe in yourself as an educated person who believes in others and seeks enlightenment. And so what if that protection, what if the bond is to the people here, but there's this internal struggle with whatever the eye could contain or have or be doing? What if, even, consider this, in my world, beholders are made from people who have taken the path of 10 steps. And it's a metamorphosis. It's sort of like achieving a nirvana. Once you have found this stillness, this inner peace, you found this climax of oneself and knowledge within and without. You become a beholder, although they're called Poe. And there's only ever known one Poe at a time. So when the old Poe dies, whoever's next in line following the 10 steps can try and metamorphose into the next Poe. What if, in a similar sense, what if this is an eye that is slowly starting to transform the user into a beholder? And so the disguise comes into play because suddenly the hair starts morphing into stalks. And maybe at this point, this NPC can't see through there's no extra eyes per se, but maybe the hair, like, it's good you're in the desert, you want to keep covered up, right? But the hair is photosensitive. The hair acts as almost peripheral vision, black and white or kind of blurry color. And we could even incorporate this into the adventure that our PCs are going to go through. If we have an NPC that's so bonded to our characters might go out of their way to prevent this from happening to their beloved tutor, mentor, religious leader, whatever he or she is. RN Jesus has been kind tonight with this NPC. With low wisdom, this character would also find it hard to yes, exactly. Yes, Coffee. And finally, what is a flaw or a secret of this NPC? Let's roll a d12. We rolled an 8. An 8, a specific phobia. What is this NPC's specific phobia? Now, we can go to the madness chart if we want. We can go to the madness chart, also in the DMG. Or we can make it up. Would a character like this have a fear that we can translate now, or perhaps we can go through a basic character creation process and get some basic details. Is this character afraid of fire? We can impose that, and suddenly there's now an extra link into why this NPC is a mentor to our tiefling character, our poor widowed tiefling, who's also afraid of fire. Maybe that's what resounded between them. Afraid of people who are afraid? Maybe that's why they want to spread wisdom, right? Or with knowledge. With knowledge, that it tends to suppress fear, because we're no longer afraid of the unknown because we know more. Maybe it's a parent. Oh, yeah. Hey. This may actually give another reason for this to be some of the Eye of Vecna or an equivalent that we want to make up. Because when you equip the Eye of Vecna, I believe you actually get some benefits and drawbacks. And so, Plunder Loot, it seems that the dice have confirmed, not that your upfront suggestion it was a good one, but it seems like this must have meant to have happened. Artifacts. Book of Vile Darkness. Okay. Eye and Hand of Vecna. The Eye of Vecna and Hand of Vecna each have the following random properties. 1 minor beneficial, 1 major beneficial, and 1 minor detrimental. Your alignment changes to neutral evil, and you gain the following benefits. You have True Sight, can use an action to see as if you're wearing a ring of X-ray vision. And it has 8 charges, and you could do Clairvoyance, Disintegrate, etc. Alright, so maybe the phobia could go to minor benefit, major benefit, minor detriment. And we'll see if the phobia could end up being the detriment. Minor beneficial power. Let's roll a percentile set. 45. While attuned to the artifact, you have resistance against one damage type of the DM's choice. Resistance to a damage type. A major benefit. We're going to roll percentile. 32. When you hit with a weapon attack while attuned to the artifact, it takes an extra 1d6 damage of the weapon's type. Extra 1d6 weapon. Maybe because it's an eye if we're going to cast out of it spell. We're the DMs. Whatever. And a minor detrimental property. 27. 27 is, while attuned... Oh, I'll let you know in 1 second here, Plunder. While attuned to... Wait, we rolled a 27? Alright. While attuned to the artifact, you have... Or wait, you emit a sour stench noticeable from up to 10 feet away. Ah, okay, so here we go. Younger NPC goes on adventures. Indiana Jones, you're out in the field making field research. Something happens, you find the eye. You put the eye in, and maybe it takes a while for it to take hold and to really affect. You go back, you retire in the library, and maybe after some time, something happens and you awaken the eye. Beyond any cosmetic stuff. And it starts, that's where the change starts, right? You get this sour stench, and so suddenly you can't work around people. They're like, oh, yeah, you smell. Is it a hot day? Well, it's always hot in the desert. Ha, ha, ha. You know what? I'm going to go and take a bath. You take a bath, and you get out after perfuming yourself. And after like 5 minutes, when the perfume is starting to wear off, you can smell this, whatever, a beholder smell. It smells like, it smells like the tomb or whatever, the ruins in which you found that eye after being chased in there by bandits. The phobia, some kind of self-conscious, essentially about body odor, starts developing maybe into agoraphobia. Well, actually, I would say, Coffee, that it wouldn't be agoraphobia, because if this character is now set out from the library, right? I still want to work with the library, but I can't be around other people. So if I'm out in the open on in the desert on a sand sled pulled by a camel or whatever, there's a lot more air passing by. No one's going to complain about the smell. Or if they do, everyone else is going to smell bad because they've been sweating out in the hot sun of the desert too. And so that might be why this NPC left the library, is still a part of it, but is this traveling library, this traveling tutor or mentor. And plus, what if this person was taken over? If they're in the middle of the desert, they might not hurt as many people as they would in a library, should this transformation be complete. Plus, it's easier to fool people on the road with, veils and masks than it is to see your colleagues every day and they can see you change. So the specific phobia might be, what would be a flaw or secret? Secret phobia. Oh, plunder loot. So the person went into the ruins, and maybe the ruins fell behind and trapped this person in this tight tomb area. They had to wiggle and crawl, and so maybe they weren't claustrophobic until that time. Life and death, being chased, there's a sandstorm and raiders and all this stuff happening. You have to crawl through this tomb. There's snakes and poison or whatever. You're sort of like a Bishop in Aliens. That's a very claustrophobic scene, by the way. Oof. Or Andy Dufresne in Shawshank. And so now, when, all of this has happened, And, you know, and the raiders are even close behind, so you can't stop and you can't panic. You have to power through it. You have to crawl through the spiders' nests. And, you know, the spiders are in your hair and you can't breathe, but you don't want to die. And so maybe the phobia was born from that process and kind of then cemented from that traumatic day onward, which is why you can return. You don't want to be in the field. You might go into a ruin, but you know that the big library back home is a big library. And when you can't be in the big library, you take a cart from there and you go into the big wide world. So specific phobia, let's put claustrophobia. Boom. Now, if we want to fill in some details, kind of like what TJ was asking about, now we know, look, the things we talked about are universal. It may not necessarily matter up front if this was a human or whatever, but now that we know who the character is, let's discover what the character is in those terms. So let's roll percentile. Let's roll percentile. We can do like a very quick, we can do a very quick kind of rundown of things here, right? We don't even need necessarily hit points or the like. Well, Tabaxi aren't on this chart. I'd have to have Volos included, and I do intend on making a more open character that'll have like all of the printed races or whatever. But let's roll male or female with percentile. 31. We have a female. Roll a d10. An 8. A half-orc. With odd, a half-orc. Favors her human side. Whether that's genetically... So yeah, whether that's genetically, whether that's culturally or linguistically, this is something that I add in. You're not going to find that in the player's handbook. So we have a female half-orc. Maybe that's helping her resist, right? So instead of like assimilating the DNA completely of a one species creature, geez, we're just talking about mixed blood characters in the prior segment. What if it's actually a benefit because of her mixed blood? The artifacts effects are happening slower because it's having difficulty trying to assimilate both like species DNA. Gotta add flumps in too. Are flumps a playable race in D&D time, I wonder? Like I said earlier, the heterochromia could be the result of natural DNA. Yeah, it could come about. In fact, it could even in its own way be almost poetic. You know, so she was born as this mixed breed, you know, and maybe even you know, accepted or made fun of because of it, you know, in childhood. And then it's only poetic that, you know, your eyes are still different even after getting a replacement one. No playable flumps. Well, so what about half flumps? You're a flum. Or I guess a what? A flu? Because that's half a flump. Or are you an oomph? I want to play an oomph. Now you need to make a half flump race. Um, 9550, that is going to be neutral evil. Well, you know what? It's the eye. The eye was saying she's turning neutral evil. And so maybe she is starting to hide, you know, her face more, and she's fighting against it. You know, we could put neutral evil. Maybe she was that way before. Being neutral evil doesn't mean you can't be social or hold a job in a museum. It just means you tend to be more selfish, right? Right? She does hoard knowledge. She might be after artifacts for fame and glory. You know, she might still turn them over to the museum, but she's going to get her payment and her dues from it first. Or maybe she was an uptight, lawful good character, but the eye is starting to have the effect on her. Level's not really going to matter. Feats, we're probably going to have her be a sage. Although, really, you know, if we go into Tomb of Annihilation, an archaeologist might be more appropriate for a background. We can roll. In fact, if we want to be thematic about it, we can even roll twice. Right? If everyone out here in the desert, you know, you can't just be one thing. You have to do a lot of things. Sure. I'm glad you agree with me. She's an 11-10. She is a warlock sorcerer. And specifically for her warlock, we're going to roll 2d3s to determine her patron and her pact. Boy, if we get fiend, oh lordy, this is going to be interesting. 2 and 3. The fiend, pact of the tome. Could this... Oh my goodness. The major NPC is the other type of warlock that hasn't been rolled. We have a Gulok, a Phalok, and now a Fiendlock. The other two are blades, and she's a tome, and that definitely fits her character. And as for the sorcerer, oh, either could work, but of course, the dragon blood will especially work in this environment. Because what if she's a half-orc because she's half dragon, half orc? Anyway, let's find out. Let's roll odd or even. Odds. For sorcerer, that is a draconic bloodline. And now we're going to roll a d10 for which bloodline is it? 4. Booey. Where's my... There we are. Sorcerer. Sorcerer's origins, ancestor, black, blue, brass, bronze. So our NPC is a neutral evil female half-orc, which we could describe as like half dragonborn, half orc, or half dragon, half orc, right? Because the dragonborn are like humans and dragons, we tend to think. So in this case, there's some orcish blood that crept in there. Oh, you know where that's gonna bring her? Hello! What? Oh my god! As we're developing the map, it's a flooded, ruined city. We just kind of said, you know what? For harmony, let's put a fiendish... a fiend down there. That was part of the old city, the dead city. She goes and explores it. She finds the eye. Maybe if she's not turning into a beholder, what if it's starting to transform her into something else? Maybe more draconic. Maybe it's awakening. I don't know. How do we want to explain it? If she has dragon blood and orcish blood... No, maybe it could still be a beholder. It's just that her figure would change. I don't know. I kind of like that still. Although, hey, we're throwing out ideas. We're seeing what sticks. This is Dungeons and Dragons, everyone. If something doesn't work, and even though you came up with it, that's fine. Set it to the side. Use it in another campaign or adventure. Or don't. And, I mean, there's physical stats we can give her. I don't think that's as important right now. But I think we have an excellent NPC that is going to fit all of the characters. Oh, I'm sorry. The interaction with others was ponderous. Useful knowledge. Knows of the Fiend Temple. Has access to many... rare or forbidden books, knows much about everything. Useful knowledge is a prompt in the DMG to just create a sentence or two that discusses what could this NPC offer to the PC should they encounter him or her. Yeah, it's not a white dragon? Well, I mean, a desert could still be Arctic, and I know that they have that effect on things. Oh, you know what we should do, though? Maybe not height and weight. Let's find out, is she old? Right? That's kind of the theme. Everyone is middle-aged or older. 41 is going to be... Alright, so she's an adult half-orc. So that is going to be between 26 and 40. We rolled the maximum, so she's almost. Next year, she'll be middle-aged. We got there. The dice haven't let us down. So we have a 41-year-old adult, neutral, evil, female half-orc. Favors her human side. Or if not human, then favors her draconic side. Right? Her non-orc side, I guess. Fiend Tome Warlock, and a Bronze Draconic Bloodline Sorcerer. I kind of want to build her. Oh my gosh. This would be really interesting to build. Perhaps because of the Draconic Bloodline, she likes to hoard books. Yeah. That could have that led her into this and set her on the path. And you know what? Because of this now, we have an NPC that could become a villain, or... what if there is another beholder? Like, what happened to the other eye? Maybe in this area, there's always two beholders. And one was searching for the other eye that was taken and maybe sacrificed to the demon. Or something. And that's why it's in that temple. And so this, by the nature of this NPC, we could create a villain that's not of her, but another character, a rogue element, an NPC and or a villain because of that. Now she needs a name. So if you have a name, then let's go with it. And while you all are thinking about that, I'm going to copy this, and you know what? I'm going to build one more NPC. I'm really digging the energy, the thoughts, everything that's happening here. And oh, by the way, Plunder Loot, I'm sorry, I owed you a list of boxes. Now that I'm kind of off my high of seeing, you know, that we're reading a book and page, we're just lost in it. This is a never-ending story. We're up in the attic on a rainy day reading what happens as the world is collapsing around us, but we're so drawn in. We're talking to that scary wolf. We're talking to that ponderous and slow rock giant. You know, we're there, wondering what Atreyu is doing as the world is being eaten up all around us. Either that, or if you don't like that, then we're the Goonies in the attic reading the Spanish pirates map. Ye intruders beware. That's why she enjoyed the library so much too. Mr. Plunderlet, you want to name her Shiazra. Shiazra? Shayazra. Or Shazra. Shazra. 2 syllables? And is that a first or a last name, or is that her nickname? Or, you know, is she called like Shiazra the Counselor, or... you know, did everyone always just call her Miss Shazra because she works in the library? All right, once more, let's go back to our note sheet. What is an NPC now that we can... Shazra. Okay. A notable thief mentor or a magic teacher for our rogue divination wizard. Carolandra had this dwarven foster family, as well as a major religious influence. And so Elias would probably also have a religious influence, because he thinks he's a holy avenger, sort of reincarnated, or he's reenacting it to be like this character from religion and history that he loves so much. He wants to be this character. He's kind of like a Batman, or I said Azrael from Batman, who sees himself as a crusader in modern times. Well, we have the Caped Crusader, but you get what I'm saying. Carolandra is the urchin, so the widowed tiefling taken in by the dwarves. Who are the dwarves? What did they do? There could be a connection there. a big major religious influence. Ibayek is the sailor, effectively, not by background, but just by his trade. He sails, so there's rival salesmen who go and scour, looking for tomes to sell and good bargains and all this. So we could develop kind of another traveling merchant that could show up over the course of the adventure. Could have a friend in the guild, a scribe. In fact, that could even be, that scribe could even be the scribe we just made. A monk teacher who taught Ibayek the ways of the four elements, or for that matter, how to be a hunt master. Could have been the same person. Could have just been something he learned in all his 235 years. He's super ancient for a halfling, by the way. That's why we gave him the lucky feat. He's lucky to have lived so long. Or a port master. Or if not a port master, maybe he has a longshoreman friend. Someone that he can talk to. A barkeep. A barkeep kind of in every town. Or there's one in particular he likes. Melry, there could be errant servants who escaped the attack on her noble's estate, on her noble family's estate. But of course, oops, there's a Tiamat cult operating there. Possibly someone upset at her for breaking his or her heart, or otherwise pulling a scam. This is a good one, because this can connect with anyone else. Deke, a librarian or a book publisher. The figure that broke his health in exchange for power and information. Remember, Deke, we gave him his dump score to Khan, and that explains how we were able to roll up a Shadow Dragonborn. He was born as a Black Dragonborn, but we applied the Shadow version to him because of the special conditions in our character generator. We might even be able, because Deke's the Gulak. And if he got those powers over here, people who live simply, or even people who fled, maybe someone from the old estate, maybe that is what happened 50 years ago. This project went underway, and that's why our character lost her family and her noble title or something. Could have fled. And this NPC could be, could have come back as a magic teacher. Or because Melry has 2 levels. Melry has 2 levels of Hunter Ranger. And we said, well, she grew up as a noble, so she was taught archery. That was the random profession, or the weapon fighting style that she got from that. And so what if the person who taught her hunting as a child, because archery is a noble sport, ended up being the one who met Ibayek later and helped teach him how to be a hunter. And so we can connect these two together, even if they're not aware of it. And that character could have even then been, Rangers and Rogues share some similarities. Could still have this as a skill set. Could have been a member of this Dwarven foster family. If we really want to connect more of our, not every NPC is going to speak to every player character. Or be as intimately, bonded or connected to. So that's fine. I don't want to look for someone who's going to hit every PC here. 2-syllable Bard can also work. Oh, yeah, it could be Harbor Master, yeah. But we also have a magic teacher. And that could be someone who helped her learn her sorceress powers, but could also be steeped in, how to channel arcane magic. Oh, I spelled influence incorrectly. I don't know, I'm kind of liking this. So this NPC might be a little bit more focused if we're looking to... let's take the general idea and let's just roll with what it gives us. Let's go with an errant servant, because an errant servant is just as universal as anything else here. And see where it takes us. So, occupation and history. Errant servant of the Melry estate that escaped the destruction of the family. NPC appearance. Well, let's go back up to that. D20. We rolled a 10. Tattoos. Okay, so now we can ask ourselves, what kind of tattoos? Is it from military service? Are they monk tattoos? That could then naturally bleed into something else, but we have a prompt, and now let's take it and sort of massage it into everything else that we know. And it'll be natural, it'll be organic. 2d6 for the abilities, 5 and 1. High wisdom, low strength. Now that doesn't mean that everything else is a dump stat. Wisdom could be the 15 and dexterity could be the 14 on the standard array. But this is going to show what is primarily the highest stat that this character has for quick reference. What is a talent this person has? Again, this could help us work it into and through the characters. 7. Great at solving puzzles. Ooh. If you recall, when we made our last character, when we made Deke, as being a sage, you get, your colleague leaves you something. And we rolled a trinket, because not all colleagues have to be dead and leave letters, as per the background indicating. We rolled trinket 57. That was a map to some place. And we said, well, it could be a map, but what if it was something like a puzzle cube, and the outside of the box was a map that when he solved it, maybe instead of a Cenobite coming out, he followed the map and found the Great Old One. And that was his reward / punishment that led to his broken health, but his induction to being a warlock and paladin. So what if this character, who, and by the way, so this is our Shadow Black Dragonborn, could have been a Dragonborn himself. We can still randomly roll, I'm fine. But worked in the Dragonborn family of Melry, escaped with this, brought it to Deke, who is our sage, to solve. Right? Maybe it'll help the family recover, or it's something that he just ran away. He grabbed loot and ran. Maybe I can try and save the estate, or I could just pawn it and do whatever and live. Brought it to Deke. Deke solved the puzzle box map. The map unfolded, as a cube does, and it led Deke to the Great Old One on the island, where he then took the deal of knowledge in exchange for his health. Hashtag just saying. All right. What is his mannerisms? Or what is a mannerism? If you want, we could roll 3 if you know. But his primary one is number 10. Uses colorful oaths and exclamations. Uses colorful oaths and exclamations. He cusses, or I don't know. If he's having kind of a Great Old One mind leak, he might actually always be mentioning his oath, his contract or something. We're getting awesome prompts for this as a personality that we can take a step back in or zoom as best as we want. Oh shoot, Mr. Plunderloot, I still didn't tell you what boxes we have. I have 6 boxes of the 8 of a fresh brick of Mad Mage. I have 3 boxes of Tomb of Annihilation, and I have 3 boxes of Dragon Heist. I also have 4 boxes of Monster Menagerie 2. And all of those are in the $18 range. Sorry, man, I get on a soapbox when I get creative like this. Could also be someone that's simply a magic initiate and pass the skills on. Are they tribal tattoos? They could be. Say something in like an Arabic motif, something akin to that. Yeah, or if you remember like that Guardian Order in the third Indiana Jones movie, Last Crusade. They had like the warding tattoos under the eyes. So they have a Hellraiser puzzle box. Kind of. I said instead of a Cenobite, I don't know. Is a Cenobite a great old one? But yeah, they solved it in the map, and there we go. Hail Relay. Need a soapbox emote soon. I agree, Coffee Cat. I was gonna have one, but BTTV keeps thinking that a wooden box is a non-invisible background, when what I want to present is a solid, a wooden box of planks. But I think they just see the word soapbox in a brown background. They're like, well, we can't allow that. So it's been a little bit of a struggle, despite me having contested it and explained it. Interaction with others. We're going to roll a d12. 6. Friendly. Well, you got to be friendly if you want to survive. Useful knowledge. Well, we'll come back to that. Might have knowledge of Melry's past, etc. and so forth. Ideal, again, a 2d6. 1 and 3. A good ideal, a greater good. What is the greater good? Could this character, thinking it's the greater good, have betrayed Melry's family and allowed access for the people to rout the family? Because this person knew that there was this cult to Tiamat taking place and that they are the ones facilitating it. It did have a 1 pixel transparent background around it, Coffee, so it'll have to be 3D or something to get the point across. You want to go with Mad Mage? Okay, I'll pull that in just a second for you. Our NPC's bond is on a D10. 8. Protective of a valuable possession. What could that possession be? What if it's the other eye? Ooh. What if it's the other eye? It doesn't have to be. Again, though, we're world building. We're building a story. It could be a tic-tac-toe says a key. It could be a key. Where would the key go to? And what is his flaw or her flaw or secret? A D12. 4. Envies another creature's possessions or station. Envies another creature's possessions, like an eye or station. Or wishes that he was the station that Melry had, and maybe that is why he allowed Melry's family, like intruders or kind of crusaders, to come in and sack the family estate and kill the family. All while he made off with some treasures, which could have included that puzzle box map and the other eye or something. I think we have a lot of good connections to be made here. Something like the skeleton key from the Elder Scroll. I'm not sure what that is. I have not played that Plunder Loot. A key that can unlock anything, even potential in humans? Oh, wow. If he had such a thing, he might use it, huh? So this character, in a sense, might almost be kind of a golem? There is a sense of greater good. It could be displaced, or it could be honest, and Melry's family could have just been evil. And so we actually have a good character that brought down an evil family. If it's protective, if our other NPC is searching for the other eye or something else, or the hand, if we want to say that the hand and eye of Vecna, we're saying she's kind of turning into a beholder. It could be something different, or it could be a beholder with a little arms or something. I don't know. We could also, we're in the Dungeon Master's Guide. If we're not sure, we can just go to treasure and roll on a, right? Treasure hoard. You know, so maybe it's something precious from magic item table I. Because if we look at that, this has some pretty cool stuff on it. An apparatus of Qualish, armor of invulnerability, a cubic gate, a deck of many things. So if we want to keep the Eye its own storyline and its own side quest, he ran out with the puzzle box, he handed it over, but he held on to a... No space, Delcorin. There you go. Uh-oh, and a Lithid appears. So there's this. If you as a DM say, I want a way to introduce artifacts, you can just roll a random artifact. But let's roll on the magic item table I just to see. 80. Oh my gosh. A cubic gate. What does this do? Maybe the person just sketched the box, solved it as per a map, and followed it on paper, but gave the cube... Oh, this is so eerie how this is working out. Oh my gosh. A cubic gate is a legendary item. This cube is 3 inches across and radiates palpable magical energy. The 6 sides of the cube are each keyed to a different plane of existence, one of which is the material plane. The other sides are linked to planes determined by the DM. You can use an action to press one side of the cube to use the gate spell with it, opening a portal to the plane keyed to the side. Alternatively, if you use an action to press one side twice, you can cast the plane shift spell with the cube and transport the targets to the plane key to that side. It has 3 charges. Each use of the cube expends 1. This was meant to happen. I don't know what to tell y'all. I mean, are you on the edge of your seat? Is this giving you like goosebumps or chicken skin, some people call it? Holy crud. Yeah, one of it could be a beholder's lair, right? And so to return to fully manifest or something, the beholder, whatever, the beholder could have been like some ultimate pharaoh, right? You have the Eye of Ra. We're kind of making an Egyptian, Arabian Peninsula style setting. The beholder could be called Ra. I mean, that's kind of obvious, but so you could have this Eye of whatever. It can act like an Eye of Vecna. But as we're steeping into religion and history, oh my gosh, this is working out so well. This is spooky, everyone. Cubic gate. Which he took back after Decay took a rubbing of the faces in order to study. Opens it up. Great Old One manifests or is drawn, that's a way for him to visit the Great Old One. And then, of course, the exterior was solved, and so not the direct cubic way, but the route, the pilgrimage to reach it. And so this NPC might be bonded through, if not a direct oath. We could roll Warlock. If we roll a Gulak for this NPC, we'll find out. Perhaps the beholder is like Ra, and the other is Osiris. Yeah, if we want to translate, these historical or religious mythological figures into our setting, we can do that. NPC has tattoos. Could one of them be a large eye across his chest? Oh. Okay, so we do something like that. Yeah, a tattoo of some kind. He could have gotten this before or after he ran away. Or maybe oh, we're talking about the Guardians from not Raiders of the Lost Ark, in the Last Crusade. What if he was a part of this greater good order to protect, and he infiltrated the family, he betrayed them to these crusaders who came in and threw down this cult to Tiamat. And so the tattoo could be of the eye. And so ultimately, the Beholder or Pharaoh or Ra or whatever isn't like a great old one per se, but is a mythological figure. That perhaps it's said that even the dragons, perhaps even the dragons worship this figure. Like a sun, like with radiating sunbeams, except they're eye stalks. Right? 10 eyes, 10 dragons. The colors maybe shift, and depending on which dragon is invoked. So maybe so if we're going to create a religion, what if the Beholder's eyes were dragon eggs? It can see through the eggs, and therefore this Ra figure, this figure of vision and sight, can see through dragons. And thereby, the Dragonborn, who are a minority, doesn't mean they're not influential, are considered to be the eyes of our presumed to be remote or distant sun god or whatever.
Pink is my favorite color.
Aw, Dorak, welcome. Pink is your favorite color. What? Well, you sure as heck have a little pink emote. Dorak, thank you. Are you hoping to get some minis with this, or what are you looking to do, Dorak? My goodness. And Dorak got a new badge. Oh my gosh, Dorak. Thank you so much. Or is that going into the trip fund to get me out to California, Dorak? Or what are you hoping to do with that? Besides earn that cool badge. No, you're fine, Dorak. So here, we're building a culture and a religion. And so really, these aren't so much eye stalks as they're like ovipositors of eggs. And so we have like the big dragon. I mean, Beholder, but you get what we're saying. And so it sees through the... we're creating lore. Oh my gosh, tattoos. A great eye across the chest, or wherever, indicative of the religion group to which she or he belongs. Well, we can fill in useful knowledge. Let's... This is so creepy how this is coming together. Let's make a quick character, right? Percentile, male or female. We have another female. D9 or D10. 3. Halfling. And specifically, this is a stout halfling. $86.77. Chaotic evil. Ooh. From whose perspective? Or did this happen after she has used this gate? And much like our sage, maybe she broke. You know, she's currently chaotic evil. Maybe she can be redeemed. Maybe she has been this whole time. Who knows? We're almost making villains. But we're making NPCs. What are our villains going to look like, everyone? If these are our NPCs, what are our villains going to look like? Let's roll. Let's make another multi-class. That's the theme here. 7 and 1. A paladin barbarian. Paladins have 3 oaths that they can take. We rolled 3. An oath of vengeance. Oh, golly. Barbarian is going to be, let's see, odds or evens. We rolled evens. That is going to be a totem warrior. So the totems could be like the tattoos. And this person is trying to cover themselves. A vengeance paladin, totem warrior, barbarian. Oh, butts. Our villains are going to be awful, says Coffee Cat. Super zealous. Oh my gosh. RNGesus just keeps it awesome. Look, RNGesus has taken the wheel, my friends. The villains are all lawful good. Hey, look. All of our player characters are chaotic neutral. I would like to point that out. With a sheer stroke of luck, they're all chaotic neutral. None of them are necessarily good guys. None of them may necessarily be bad guys. And if we're talking about, you know, Crusaders coming and throwing down one of our player characters' families, yeah, it's a cult of Tiamat. Yeah, they probably did bad stuff, but she's upset about it and wants to take it back. What if we've kind of accidentally made an evil campaign? You know, oh my god, this is exactly how the Mesotopia region started, by the way. Well, it was a mix of evil and neutral characters. Dorek says it makes them super strong for a while, but eventually they started to deteriorate. Then, if they didn't do something, they would die. Oh, no, oh, Numenera. You're talking about Numenera campaign. Yeah, Dorak. The green screen is making my my command shirt a little funky. Can the eggs open up like alien facehuggers, come out and inject victims with a curse that changes them to the dragonborn of the color the stalk is used? Oh, so you want to make it, yeah, we can make it kind of like, everyone's like, oh, it lays eggs and they hatch and beautiful, like it's Easter eggs and everything is wonderful and full of candy. Meanwhile, you know, what if the origin of the dragonborn were something like that? A human was sacrificed to this deity and the dragon DNA was like injected into them. And through this kind of scary process. That could be a thing. What if the cubic gate connects to both planes? Each religious group wants it. One thinks the image is of a sunrise, beams of light. The other group thinks it's a great eye with eye stalks of power. And you know, throwing that out there, tic-tac-toe, as a DM, this is a bit of a lazy tactic, but it's fun and can be meaningful. You just describe it, and then you sit back and you listen to what your players talk about. Oh, this is totally a sun with beams coming off of it. No, this is totally a beholder with eye stalks. And then they go back and forth, and suddenly the party agrees on something, and they say, "Oh, it's a beholder," and you go, "Oh, darn! Looks like y'all figured it out. It is a beholder," and suddenly it is, even though it was Schrodinger's beholder, right? Facehuggerish creatures we're talking about. Oh, gotcha, Dorak. Gotcha. How old is this person? 48. Is an adult. So for halflings, that's between 71 and 110. So that's a 40-sided die. 103. And now we need a name for the character. I guess up here we can put escaped the destruction. Wink with my eye. This NPC sounds like my grandma Helen. Is she a part of a Helen Bleakheart? Oh no. Is she part of a vengeful, like a paladin group that seeks retribution on on people not of the faith. You want to name her Dolan? Or does your grandma have an awesome eye tattoo on her chest? Or elsewhere? I mean, you could kind of put it like in between the collarbones, maybe. Or a third eye. Maybe that's a little bit overdone. You put the eye, like, you flash the signal, right? You kind of... Or you have to, like, stack your fingers. What if it's done in a way that, you know, if someone just looks, they're like, oh, that's some dirt. But what if it was, like, a secret thing where you, like... You had to go like this? You had to do this, right? You remember doing that on the playground as kids? She goes berserker at yard sales. Just snarls, elbows other people out of the way. 9, and I'll buy it for 3, not the tagged 5. Well, there we go. So Tic Tac, you wanted to, you want to name her Helen Bleakheart, or Plunderloot says Dolan. So what if we do something like, she's a halfling. Like Helen Dolan? Or even, Helena Dolan? Helena Dolan, 103-year-old adult, stout halfling paladin of vengeance, barbarian totem warrior. Boy, that con boost also from a stout, is going to be good for both paladin and barbarian. And of course, you use strength. Use strength and con in both. I mean, she's gonna have to have charisma, but that's fine. Whew. Man, statting these characters out on character sheets would be very interesting to do. So useful knowledge could also be... So, alright, if she's this vengeance paladin, you know, the oath doesn't have to be to a god per se, or if it is, or... What if she is seeking maybe to even protect or to help foster the transformation of this character and tries to encourage it? Maybe by, like, this might be villainous sounding, or at least as a foil, by throwing roadblocks in her way to make her use her knowledge or power, because every time she does, the influence spreads in the body a bit more. And so she's trying to awaken being a part of this cult or whatever, and again, maybe this paladin is vowed to the Great Old One. This paladin of vengeance. And maybe, I don't know, does the Great Old One as an entity have a beef with our raw beholder? Or is it vengeance against people who, are all of the patrons even? Maybe this is the super secret. All of the patrons are actually... You know, like, they pay homage to this raw figure, like, you know, as the primary god. Then you have the sub-gods who are patrons. And so the vengeance is against whoever or whatever slayed and took the eye from their god. And so a vengeance paladin is kind of like the same thing but different from a blade lock. Which, of course, we do have blade locks above. This is a different type, though. Maybe for infiltration, or the faith operates in a different way. Of course, though, if we want to leave it open for rolling, we could just roll a d3. But I think the bond to the Gulak is there and is really strong. I don't know if we have to roll it. Perhaps it's not a beholder. Perhaps it's Dogen, the Great Old One. Tentacles galore. It could be another Great Old One. I mean, but what is a great old one if not a god? Maybe a thrown down or forgotten one, so it's not as powerful. But sure, you can't do everything all at once, everywhere, simultaneously, but you can do almost everything, almost everywhere, nearly simultaneously. I like it, everyone. We have such a strong setting, a story, a cast of player characters, and now some NPCs that are borderline villains to throw in the mix as we're exploring like these open kind of wastelands, you know, kind of these cities that are acting as like points of light along an otherwise like dark and barren and bleak coast. You know, we have some basic economics and it's all here.